this video, we journey to the east to visit another city lost to time. But this is no ancient ruin, Mystorian. This city existed until as recently as 1994 and was once the most densely populated area on Earth. The walled city of Kowloon, otherwise known as Haknam, the City of Darkness. Today, we'll tell you the history of the place as well as the meaning of its name and how it came to be. So without further ado, let's get to it. The Lost Walled City of Kowloon. The history of the Kowloon Walled City in Hong Kong can be traced back to China's Song Dynasty. In 960 AD, the original 6-acre plot of land began to be used as an outpost to regulate the salt trade. Little changed until 1810, when China established a small coastal fort and years later surrounded it with a defensive wall. The fortification, however, failed to prevent the British, who had colonized Hong Kong, from occupying the settlement in 1899. When Hong Kong came under Japanese occupation during the Second World War, the wall was raised and the stone was used to expand the nearby Kai Tak Airport. The settlement returned to Chinese rule in 1945. By 1947, more than 2,000 refugees wished to live under China's protection to avoid being kicked out of the country by the British, who flooded the city. After Britain ended up adopting a hands-off approach, the city became a haven for those who wished to live outside the law. A construction boom occurred in the 60s, and the Kowloon Walled City quickly turned into the infamous sprawling, crowded, anarchic city that is remembered to this day, with a population that grew 5-fold in just 40 years. The city was so densely populated, in fact, that Hong Kong and New York today would feel empty in comparison. For the 50,000 people living there in the 1990s, there were only 8 standpipes providing drinking water. Living conditions were tough and squalid, with cramped and dirty spaces, patchy or non-existent electricity, and no garbage collection. Trash was usually dumped on the rooftops of buildings, but the rent was on average only 35 Hong Kong dollars per month. That's about $4 today, and no tax was paid. The city was especially attractive for doctors, and in particular dentists, who could practice without licenses, and manufacturers who could set up shop as they pleased. The Chinese mafia known as the Triads could run drug dens, brothels, and gambling houses without any worry from the law. And visitors could find dog meat to eat, which was illegal in the rest of Hong Kong. Despite rampant crime and the absence of any law and regulation, Kowloon City had schools, churches, and businesses. Its unique political status and anarchic conditions, however, made it an embarrassment for the British government, who eventually started tearing it down in 1993. The demolition ended in April 1994. Residents received compensation to leave, and the site was eventually transformed into a Qing Dynasty-style garden. But where did that name come from? The name Kowloon actually comes from the Cantonese phrase for 9 dragons. Legend has it that the name was chosen by an ancient Chinese ruler, the boy emperor Bing of Song. He came to the area while escaping from the invading Mongols in 1279 AD. The boy and his court arrived at what we now know as Kowloon on the South China Sea. The emperor then counted the 8 surrounding mountains and was ready to name it 8 Dragons. But before the boy emperor officially named the area, someone told him that he too was a dragon. So he named the city 9 Dragons, Kowloon. But the city also had another name, Haknam. This is Cantonese for City of Darkness. This was appropriate because of the city's maze-like alleyways and packed tall structures that often rose up to 13 stories high. As such, the ground and lower levels of Kowloon Walled City rarely saw sunlight. But people found a way to make it work. Thank you, Mystorian, for watching. Why not check out our other documentaries that should be appearing on your screen now? But as always, this isn't goodbye. This is just until the next mythical video.